right, we're back at it. Another Monday. Why am I so big and not?
Because you've been stuffing whatever that snack is down your face for the last 10 minutes.
Well, this is because I'm eating pistachios because I'm on a 20 pounds in 20 days loss thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll be eating muffins. Okay.
Just pistachios are good for you?
Well, they're better than muffins.
They don't taste better than muffins.
Well, they got a little salt on them, so they definitely don't taste better than muffins. But I can tell you this: that's interesting. So I took off already 5. I think I'm on day 5. So, but I was down 5 in 3 days, and I kind of bumped up a pound, and then I got back. Yeah. It's starting to get hard. The first 5 are easy. Like 2 days, you just discipline yourself. Boom, 5 are gone. And then it's like, okay, now's your real challenge. Now, do you really want it? That's where it goes. But anyway, let's talk about what's going on with our promo, man. myfootballcamps.com/D1. I just did my Kruger video actually, and I hadn't taken a look at him since that first thing came through. Man, he's really good.
Yeah, they don't target him a lot. And that's J.J. Cole, the 4-star quarterback who's going to Iowa State. It's his quarterback. He just, in that offense, the tight end just doesn't get utilized that well. But he's a good blocker, inline kid, big kid, good size.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, we talk about, I watch the NFL a lot, and you always have the flex tight end. You always have the blocking tight end, and you've never heard of the blocking tight end. Unless you get a guy like Gronk or, Jason Witten or those guys who could do that. But the blocking tight end is extremely useful. And when I say blocking tight end, people think, oh, well, he's just a 6 offensive lineman. He's not going to catch passes. No, it's the type of guy that can get downfield, box you out, get position, move the chains, sneak by you every once in a while, but also inline block. And that's what he can do. So to me, he's a 5 level kid, and should be in that discussion. But the puzzling thing there is that his quarterback was heavily recruited, and he's not getting as many looks as he should. And I think that's because he just didn't have a lot of targets his junior year.
Yeah, well, tight end, especially you're 100% right. The NFL, plus the goal line, those guys score touchdowns because they sneak them out. When they run the ball on the goal line, and these guys score 5 or 6 every single year, and those guys are valuable because they got to be able to be a great blocker in order to be able to sell that. So,
well, the other thing I'm noticing in the promo, and I've talked to a bunch of people about this, is that there's so many companies out there doing this, and this is similar to the camp business. As you remember, when you started camps, it was Nike and then nothing else. There were no underclassmen camps, and Nike really didn't invite underclassmen. So you found something that nobody else was doing, and then everybody started getting in the camp business, including my old company, Under Armour, Adidas, on and on, but not just them, smaller companies. And then the 7-on-7 space became overcrowded, and you didn't know who was legit and who wasn't. Should I go to this 7-on-7 tournament? It's all based on reputation, and it's all based on, word of mouth. So people know us just because of our names, but there's so much other garbage out there that I think everybody's hesitant to pull the trigger on anything. And, when I see the promo program, helping a Carson Kruger get a Drake offer and get a commitment, and now he's going to have his college paid for. Or I see a kid like Gavin Marshalek, was a 3rd-string quarterback heading into this season, and now he's the starter on varsity. The success is there, but I think people are just really confused as to who to trust and who to, double down with. So building trust in people is going to be the key here. I thought it was going to be, hey, everybody knows who we are. They should trust us. But this industry has been inundated with a bunch of untrustworthy people. And so that's something that we have to overcome when it comes to the promo program is don't put your money in the wrong place is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a situation where, look, the bottom line is what's great is you see what you're getting, you know what you're getting. But you're right. You do get questions of people, and when they're putting their money, like they have. I tell them, do your research. You know what I mean? Do your research. Like that's an important thing. If you're not sure, do your research. I'm glad to answer the questions you have, but you should do your own research. Like you're not gonna find anybody in the industry with this kind of clout that's working with you. So, and that's about. There are other people with clout in this industry, and I would say they're coaching in Division I colleges. So, unfortunately, those guys are not going to be able to help you in the way that you need to. But there's very few, and there might be a handful around the country that are able to do something, but very few, and not combining in the way that we are to do something. So that stuff. But people, in today's social media marketplace, they don't understand, you know, how much impact does this have? There's so much stuff out there, and showing them not just the people following them, but the depth and the breadth of the reputation is important. But they got to talk to you still. That's the bottom line, and we're glad to talk to you and communicate with you, to be able to help you understand everything. So, we welcome that. Some people are easy with the process, and some people it takes time, and that's okay. But what you see, what actually starts to happen, that's the results. And, so check it out, myfootballcamps.com/D1. Literally, it's I think it's changed a lot of athletes' trajectory in a really positive direction. Check it out. You could obviously always ask questions. Me and Mike.
Well, the best part about it is in doing this, I was a little hesitant just because of my experience with parents over the years. And you deal with parents even more than I do running camps and stuff. But I was worried, that I'd run into difficult people, and I haven't run into anybody who's difficult. I haven't had one complaint, and everybody's happy. And that's very rare, and when you're ranking kids like I did forever, nobody's happy. When you're selecting all-star, 5-star challenge kids, and you got 104 roster spots, 104 kids are going to be happy, and everybody else is going to be pissed at you, and on it goes. So this is a little bit different because this is just everybody rowing in the same direction, nobody being left out. If you want us to pay attention to you, there's a cost. It's life, but we're all in when we do. And that's the cool part about it is, I was talking to, Marshalek's father yesterday, and I told him, I was surprised. I love writing. I love opinions. And we're going to get into the Jermaine Burton, Tennessee situation and Quinn Ewers. And I love writing stuff. I love running a website. I love people reading what I have to say. I love arguing with people about stuff. And I didn't think I'd like this as much, but this is a big part of it. It's kind of fun for me. And I keep saying that over and over again, but I don't think people understand what 24 years of dealing with, parents of kids who are under recruited being told as a company that they're a nuisance, go away, ignore them, to the point now where it's just a complete 180 where I'm actually dealing with them. I don't know. It's refreshing. I've covered 5 stars. Terrell Pryor and a great kid, and Jadeveon Clowney, and Bryce Brown, all those guys. But it's a different perspective. There's almost like a rich people's problems. 5 stars have what I call rich people problems. Like, oh my God, what school do I choose? I've got 58 offers. I'm so confused. And then there's kids who just die for an FCS offer, and that's a completely different problem. And I kind of like this end of it too, after dealing with, all the superstars for all those years.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, I think it's a big thing. And check out myfootballcamps.com/D1. Mike's social media right down below. You can see it right here. Mine as well, at Coach Schuman at Farrell Sports. And we have our websites. You can follow us. Make sure, if you have a question, you think you're interested, but don't be shy. DM us. I'm glad to interact with you, answer your questions for you, okay? And that's an important thing because sometimes people are shy and they don't want to ask questions.
I don't get shy. People haven't been shy with me ever. I would prefer shy sometimes. I don't get shy. You get shy?
I get shy sometimes, yeah.
Do you?
I just get a lot of links. Can you check me out?
DVDs thrown at my freaking head. That's what I get. So I'm used to the opposite.
Right. People like to attack you.
Well, they like to, put themselves on my windshield as I'm trying to drive away from a camp. That's the opposite of shy, I think. So let's talk Jermaine Burton before we get into your Quinn Ewers questions. I did just a very low key video on this, on my opinion, on Jermaine Burton. So just to recap, Jermaine Burton's a wide receiver for Alabama. Alabama lost to Tennessee. The crowd, fans rushed the field. It was chaos. And a video surfaced of, you gotta be kidding me, of Jermaine Burton sort of pushing a girl in the face. You could say slap, push.
I'll show it in a second.
Okay. Yeah. There's not a lot here. I mean, this isn't a Ray Rice, I'm gonna violent, scary situation. But to me, the what I just said is in the video, I said Nick Saban didn't suspend him at all. He played this past weekend against Mississippi State. I just think you have to send a message in this day and age where we're aware of everything. You have to suspend him for a game, and Saban didn't do it. And you remember Musha Muhammad?
Yes.
Wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. So he was at Michigan State 100 years ago when Saban was there, and he got in trouble legally. He had got busted for marijuana, which now is nothing. And then he broke his probation, and Saban didn't suspend him either. And Saban's, explanation was he didn't feel it was warranted. And the guy turned out to be a great player, great human being. So people are sort of saying, Saban knows, but I think it just looks like win at all costs. And I think they should have done something.
All right, let me play it. Let's play it. All right. You can see it, right? Okay, here.
Yeah.
We'll play it here. I just took the music out.
So there he is, number 3.
Yep, number 3. I think there's a better version of this.
So they're playing it over and over again, though. She's in front of him. Oh.
Here it is.
Yeah, so.
I mean, she's videoing him, too?
No, I think she was videoing the scene, and I think he tried to knock her cell phone out. That's
and then he acts. Okay, here's the.
So there's the screen grab of it. It's not a punch. It's not a. She goes to the side of and
he hits her in the face. Kind of, is that what happened?
Yeah, so you see her holding her face and turning around and looking at him, kind of stunned. She wasn't hurt. She didn't press charges. This isn't, this isn't Ray Rice. It's just something that you can't do. So yeah, if you're on the field and the crowd, rushes the field and it's very difficult to get off the field, and you're going to interact with people, but you just got to get off the field. You got to just get off the field, not touch anybody, and try to
say anything to him.
I don't know. See, that's the thing that hasn't come out. So Jermaine has not commented. I
wouldn't if I were him either, but
I texted him to see if I could get just sort of a, his side of things. He didn't respond. I think he changed his number. But Saban said that Jermaine told him that he was scared, and that was the reason he did it. But he doesn't. I don't think it's not a scared thing. But my point was Saban really needs to just suspend him for one game. I don't think his football career should be ruined. I don't think you do any of that stuff. Even suspend him. You can't suspend him for a half, because a half is just like really, really throwing it in the face of, I don't think this kid should be suspended, but I'm going to do it anyways just to shut everybody up. But maybe missing a game would have been the right message. Doing nothing, I think it speaks to Saban's bulletproof nature. He's the best coach to ever live, and nobody can mess with him. And also his win at all costs type of mentality. And I'm not being overly critical of Jermaine Burton in this situation. He shouldn't have done it. But like I said, it wasn't egregiously horrible. And I'm not overly, critical of Nick Saban here. My video was very low key. It's like, you know what? Come on. Throw him a 1-game suspension. Everybody learns from the situation. He won't do it again. And then move on. But Saban didn't do that. So now we got a topic.
Did he handle anything internally at all?
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he talked to him. The kid's taking anger management classes because he's blown up a couple other times in different situations. It was brought up on the telecast. I think it was Chris Fowler, and a couple other people were talking about it. And they came under scrutiny for the way they talked about it because they weren't really doubling down on the fact that his career should be over or whatever. And all the outraged people in this world want ruination. They want Jermaine Burton to never play football again and for his life to be destroyed. But that's how social media is. So in the opposite, where they just mentioned that he was taking anger management classes, and they didn't condone, nor did they really become critical of Saban's punishment. They're under fire too, and they're not in trouble. It's just this is the way it is. So I look at situations you have to win, right? You have to win in the eye of the public. Who was the coach? Remember the coach that was just fired at Oklahoma before the season started for use of a racial slur? He grabbed somebody's phone and he was reading.
Oh yes, yes.
And you and I had our different, and we talked about how stupid it was. And then it came out that he repeated it. I thought it was a one-time thing. He read it, and then I shouldn't have said that. But he repeated it over and over again. So He should be fired because that's just utter stupidity. But he's an adult. Jermaine Burton's a kid. I don't think he should be, kicked off the team or anything like that. But Nick Saban's an adult, and he understands, listen, if I suspend this kid for a game, maybe I'll shut some people up. We're still going to beat Mississippi State because they own Mississippi State. That's a win-win for everybody. But by not suspending him, it's like Saban's just defiantly saying, I don't give a crap what you think. I'm going to do what I want. And he can, but now we're talking about it. And we wouldn't be talking about it if the kid missed a game, I think.
Well, I think you would be talking about it. I don't know. I think there's two sides of it. The people who hate Alabama are not happy. The people who love Alabama don't care. And I do think this. So something should have happened for what he did. I don't know exactly. It's such a tough angle to see exactly how hard he hit her. Hard to know what the intent was. I don't know what the woman said. Not what she said to him, but what she said happened, or do you know on that?
Yeah, she shut down her social media. She did not press charges, and she hasn't been heard from, to my knowledge.
Right. So that makes it awful difficult. But I think, if it had happened where no one saw it, let's say the olden days, okay, and someone brought it to their attention, they probably would have just had a talking to. That's my guess. Because social media and you could see what somebody actually does, that makes it a little bit different. What is the action on it? Nick Saban gave whatever his explanation is. I think what the issue is with Nick Saban is this, okay, and this and you tell me what you think about it. He had that tirade, which I agreed with, about how nobody helped Henry Ruggs. Nobody told Henry Ruggs not to get into a car and all this other stuff and leadership. It was one of my favorite rants by his, I thought in a positive way, yeah, I agree with you. But here is his opportunity to be a leader in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know, does he learn from this? What is the situation here? No one's saying, he's a big second chance guy, and I get that, but I don't think anyone's suggesting at least from my side or your side, that he should be gone. I think something should have happened here, some form of suspension. I don't know what it is. I mean, I disagree in a sense that I think these sometimes are things that you do to half suspension, half a game suspension. I do know what you're saying. Like everyone knows the half game suspension is basically a BS suspension.
Complete BS.
Yeah, complete BS suspension. So does that teach anything? I don't know. And I don't know anything about Burton. You know more than I do about his past history stuff.
Nice kid. I mean, California kid, went to Georgia. Every experience I've had with him, from recruiting to the portal, because he was at Georgia when he won the national championship last year, transferred to Alabama. Nice kid. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I thought Aaron Hernandez was a nice kid. I really did. I
just had a heart attack.
I'm saying every experience I had with Aaron Hernandez was a great one. He's a local kid from Connecticut.
His brother is a great guy. Okay, so he's a college coach. Well, was a college coach. I mean,
yeah. DJ. Yeah. So Aaron Hernandez, I had lunch with, I had breakfast with, because he was a local kid. I went to a lot of his games and stuff like that. I covered him very closely in the recruiting process, because we don't get, borderline 5-star, tight end wide receivers in Connecticut. And his story was intriguing because he was going to go to UConn. His father died. Then he went to Florida and on and on. But I thought he was a nice kid. Now, people say he was in gangs in Bristol. I don't really know whether he was or wasn't. I don't know anything. But I'm saying, like, I don't know Jermaine Burton. He could be a freaking serial killer. I don't know. How do I know?
You would never know.
My experience with him has been great. He's always been Mr. Polite, to me, Mr. Farrell, blah, blah, blah. So that's even when I prefaced the video. I said, it's always been nice to me, but everybody's nice to me. I mean, because they want something. So I don't know what type of kid he is.
Except Northeast coaches, which is what you said.
Except, those guys, they don't want. They're all. I'm talking kids. Northeast coaches.
I'm just joking. I'm teasing.
Yeah, I know, but they're all crotchety jerks. Not recruits. Recruits want something from me, whether
Absolutely.
It's pension ranking or whatever.
Right.
But portal kids don't. Honestly, what I've noticed with the portal is they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to be a part of you. There's a shame level of being in the portal, or an embarrassment level of leaving your team, or whatever. And they don't want. And they're older now, and they don't want to talk like they did when they were recruited. And Burton was fine. Every correspondence was fine. He never really, but whatever. I don't know. I don't know the kid. Listen, this is the world we live in too. I mean, 20 years ago, obviously this would not have come out. There wouldn't be phones with cameras and, all this other stuff that now everything you do is watched. Everything that happens could be on video. You got to be careful. So shame on Jermaine Burton for even raising his hand. But also shame on Nick Saban for, just even if the kid, even I would sit the kid down, and I'm not a coach. I'd say, listen, Jermaine, between me and you, this wasn't an egregious offense. Okay. And you may say you were scared. I don't know if you were or weren't. I know that situation was crazy. You got 100,000 fans rushing the field. I said, but what you did is unacceptable in society, and I'm going to suspend you for a game because of it. And that's the end of it. And he wouldn't. I don't think
your point is valid. I think your point is valid.
It
looks like he hit a woman. I see the whole thing. It looks like he he kind of slapped a woman. It is taken, maybe it's after a game, so it's like it was kind of like a half. It wasn't like a slap, like, a man and a woman are an argument, like domestic violence slap. But it was some version of that. And yeah, I agree. And that's why I brought up the Henry Ruggs thing. If Saban is about teaching lessons to young men, right, and being a leader, then this is what we would call a leadership moment. And so, who are you, Nick Saban? To me, look. He chastises, and I love him as a coach. I mean, I think he's an unbelievable coach. Obviously, people say he's the best of all time, Maybe he's the best recruiter of all time, but whatever it is, okay. But chastises, guys like Jimbo Fisher, for example, for he there's no doubt that he thinks he is among the morality in the police world. He's the highest of them, in that, and everybody else is below him. So if that's the case, then if you're teaching leadership lessons, then where is the leadership lesson here? Okay, for Jermaine Burton. And it's not that, it's exactly what you said. It's not that it was overly egregious offense. You can't hit a woman no matter what it is. Okay. Now look, if she hauled up and smacked him, then that's a different situation. She didn't do that.
Nope.
So if she said something to you, which we don't know, if she said something to you, like, I mean, literally, you could turn around and say something back. No one's going to say anything about that, right? And keep walking. So that part is like, but if you haul up and hit somebody, and let's say the worst case scenario, she said some nonsense to him, which I don't think, but let's say she said some nonsense to him, it still doesn't warrant smacking her.
No, and Joe Mixon is a good example here too. Like, Joe Mixon was on video absolutely cold cocking that girl, knocking her out. But she had used a racial slur, and there were multiple witnesses to that. So that's a trickier situation. But even then you can't punch her. You can't knock her out. And he got suspended for a year. And I was critical of Bob Stoops at the time too, because I think Joe Mixon, that should have been career ending. And it wasn't. And Mixon, has gone on to the NFL and had success and blah, blah, blah. And I think Bob Stoops had a sort of win at all cost mentality as well with him. Jimbo Fisher with Jameis Winston and the accusations against him at Florida State. On and on, we're seeing examples of this. So it's not just Nick Saban. And those are much more egregious accusations or offenses than this. But for me, just slap a one game on them and get this over with, and not to, because that's how light this is. I mean, really, there's nothing here except for a message to them and say, just keep your hands to yourself. That's it. And I'm going to make you miss a game because of it. So we can get to Ewers now. I mean, because that's an interesting topic to me, but it's a lot to do about nothing, I guess.
Yeah. No, I just think it's a chance for him to, but maybe he thinks I don't know the man. So, I just think like I've loved a lot of his stuff. Literally, I agree with a lot of things he said, and then sometimes the actions don't match it, and then just like, is this just because you're in a bad mood and you wanted to rant on this, or
right.
or in Ruggs' case, he loves Ruggs, right, and he feels like so much, but then you're not consistent with things. So if something happens to Jermaine Burton down the line, that's not good, right? And he, I don't know, misbehaves in some way, shape, or form, then you would argue whose leadership fault was that? Maybe you could argue that was yours. You had the opportunity to help a kid who is going to have a chance to be a pro and all that kind of jazz, get to be successful, and especially, but it is here or there. I mean, it'll probably die in a week with the news, how the cycle is.
Probably a couple days.
So Quinn Ewers, here's what I thought was. I watched the whole game because I thought it was a great match. First of all, it is nice to have Texas at least playing pretty well, because I enjoy watching them when they're playing pretty well. It makes it fun, the matchups, right? And Gundy is a hell of a coach. Has done amazing. I mean, look, it certainly helped when the billionaire gave some money to really help him be able to recruit at least on par in the Big 12. I'm not saying he can recruit on par nationally, but at least with the Big 12, he's better. But what I watching Quinn Ewers, and when he was in high school, I used to love all the wild throws he'd had and the mullet. I saw him and quick release and everything. And even though he threw a little three-quarter-ish to me,
I think he did that on purpose. I really do. I don't think that's his natural release. I think he was a kid who was enamored with off platform because of Mahomes. So, that's what I see there.
So watching this game, I then watched passes. Now, I'm not just talking about the 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions, one of them was a receiver drop.
Yep.
The other 2 were bad. And then there was another one that was a pick 6 that they had gone off sides. It would have been a pick 6. It would have ended the game one play earlier. He threw another one the next play, okay? But what I thought was worse was some of these lollipop throws into the stands, inaccurate throws down the field, wildly inaccurate at times, and almost a casual style of throwing. Like he's just kind of throwing it to throw. I don't know. Like sometimes you see this in high school, like a high school kid just throws the throw. So I said, let me go back and see if there was anything like this in high school. And there is. So that's what surprised me. I just went through Twitter and started typing in Quinn Ewers and INT. And I saw things like in the championship game, one of the championship games, he kind of just started firing the ball around. And I don't know if it's something when he gets out of sync, that's kind of how he maneuvers it, or is this going to be an issue? So it looked like teams got pressure in him in high school. Okay, he started to get rid of it because he has that quick release and he can get rid of the ball fast and throws it out of there and was turning into picks and wildly inaccurate throws. A couple times it happened in the high school level. Now, obviously, they're wildly better than most of the teams they played. So it wasn't until they got to the top level competition games that it ever had a chance of happening. But it did happen a few times. And it was when people got a lot of pressure. And that's what I noticed Oklahoma State did. They got a lot of pressure on him, and the throws were wildly inaccurate. And I wonder now, look, he's young. Can this stuff be corrected? But the question everyone automatically goes to is, if he isn't that good for Texas, is not the end of the world because they have someone coming in that will take his place. But for Quinn Ewers himself, is there something there when he gets a lot of pressure? Does he not get enough into it? And is his arm weaker to me? Because I noticed that he's got a really quick release, good arm, ball pops out fast when he's in position. But if he's somewhat off balance, he struggles to throw the football.
Well,
your thoughts?
He doesn't finish his throws.
Yes.
When he's under pressure. So when you see him stand in there and his footwork's good and he has time and he steps into his throws, he finishes his throws and the ball it's a bullet. He's got one of the best arms that you're going to see, and he can make any throw. I was watching the NFL yesterday, and I was watching the Jaguars for whatever reason, and I was watching Trevor Lawrence and just watching the way the ball comes out and how quick it gets to where it needs to be and how magical it is when he has time and he steps into his throws. Quinn Ewers is young, and his bad habit right now is when he is under pressure, he doesn't finish his throws. And by that, I mean his delivery stops, and that's when the ball floats. So on the sideline interception, the first interception went right through the guy's hands. It was a good pass. It was tipped up interception.
That was the end of the game.
Oh, it was the end of the game. That's right. And then so the other interception looked like a miscommunication a little bit between him and the receiver. Receiver was coming inside. Ewers threw it to the outside, but it was also a bad throw. It was a very, very poor throw under duress, but it wasn't one of those half arm. It's the lob on the sidelines where the ball floated, where you could just see he's under pressure. He's not going to finish his throw. He's not able to step in the throw. He throws off his back foot and he just lets it float. Those are the decisions that he needs to really change. He's had one bad game. The Alabama game was a good game, but he got hurt. He had 4 touchdowns, 1 pick against Oklahoma, no picks against Iowa State. But his numbers, 11 TDs, 5 interceptions, speak to somebody who tries to do too much with their arm, but that's not him. I've seen guys with cannon arms. Jeff George is probably the best example of this. Great arm, and they try to – Brett Favre too. They try to fit the ball in where they can't because they think their arm is just so reliable to them that they can do things with it that nobody else can, and they throw a lot of picks because of it. This is a mechanical issue that needs to be fixed. So you're right. It's not an arm strength issue.
He
It's
seems
not
to not be able to shift his weight. So it seems like he does, like when he's back here, and he's in trouble. He's not shifting his weight. You're not able to step into the throw when you have blitzes, but he's not shifting any weight.
Yeah, he's throwing backwards,
and he's like this. Yeah, he's like it's like a jump shot. The
right.
only way I can say it's like a fadeaway jump shot.
Yeah,
fadeaway.
And so that is obviously something that they need to work on and correct, because that will lead to an interception quite often, because the ball is always going to float. A fadeaway jump shot is going to be high arcing and float, and that's exactly what he does. Now, the interceptions didn't concern me as much, except for that one, the floating one on the side. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, the one that sealed the game went right through the guy's hands. The other one was a miscommunication, I think, but also a bad throw. It's the level of incompletions. I mean, 19 for 49. That's hard to do. It's really hard to be that inaccurate. The minimum you accept is 50% for a quarterback, and you want 72%. So for him to come in at that percentage, that's very alarming to me, and that's probably part of why they lost the game.
So I looked at like some of I don't remember which state championship game they lost. Might have been junior year or sophomore. I can't remember. The other quarterback was like 80% or something, and he was like 51% with multiple picks. And I saw the same act. They showed highlights of it, and it was like the same thing. It was the same jump shot type stuff. And his incompletions, just having watched the whole game, his incompletions were under pressure. A lot of times was, like I said, he's able to get rid of the ball when you pressure him. Okay, like a lot of guys end up getting sacked, right? He doesn't get sacked per se unless you just come clean. He's actually able to get rid of it. But what happens is it's a jump shot, right? And these things are floating out to the sideline, and it's just like every throw in this game, like when they got pressure on him, when they went up, you're almost like, whoa, what's going to happen? And it was kind of wild. But you're right. Obviously it's a flaw. It's something that it's actually, to me, maybe a habit that he's got to fix, because even more than a flaw, right? It's like almost like has to be repped on how to throw with such tight space with a guy right on him. A product of someone who's won 1 million games in high school, who never had a lot of pressure, in my opinion, right? Always was able to kind of step into his throw, never really had a huge issue with that. Maybe a couple of games when they had a championship or something.
Yeah, the other thing people have to remember about Ewers is that he accelerated. He didn't have a senior year.
Right.
So he played his sophomore and junior year. He accelerated to get to Ohio State early, mainly, I think, because of NIL.
Right.
Because the state of Texas didn't allow you as a high school student to cash in, and, coming out early and going to Ohio State, you can make a ton of money. So he's technically 1 year removed from high school, so to speak, just like JT Daniels came out early. And it kind of stunts your development a little bit, because you don't learn to fight through these things. Like, he had 45 touchdowns and 3 picks his sophomore year, and then got hurt, missed 6 games his junior year, 28 TDs, 5 picks. But you don't learn to work through things as quickly as you would if you don't have that extra year. So I think, honestly, he's a very young quarterback with very little experience. When you look at, Quinn Ewers, honestly, this is a kid that's thrown 142 passes in college, and essentially 142 passes since 2020. That's not a lot of live football, It's just not. Since 2021, sorry, COVID year. So 2022, practice. Practice. At 2021, I mean, at Ohio State, practice. 2022, live action, with an injury. 142 passes into his career, but his completion rate is 57.7. It's not good. He was under 40%. So I think the criticism is warranted, but he's still working a lot of things out that, we see a lot of quarterbacks trying to work out. DJ Uiagalelei at
he got pulled.
Yeah, he got pulled, and Klubnik played, but Klubnik only threw 2 passes. And I think we get spoiled sometimes by the
Klubnik won the game. Did you see that one?
Yeah, but he threw 2 passes.
I'm saying they came back. They scored 14 points. They were down. They were getting killed.
I agree. I wrote an article today. I think that Clemson should make the change because the energy on that football team, it changed the second that dude got in the game. When Klubnik got in the game, they only let him throw twice. He ran here and there.
Yes.
But they pounded the ball at them. But the energy level of Syracuse changed. I watched that entire game. My buddy's a Syracuse fan. He was excited.
Use a map in your car.
Hold on.
Why not use a map with your cart?
They were up 21-10. DJ throws his second pick. They bring Klubnik in. He goes 2 for 4 for 19 yards. But the energy of everything about that on offense and defense changed, and they ended up, scoring 17 straight points to win the football game. But I think we get spoiled a little bit by the Trevor Lawrences of the world who jump in as a true freshman and just dominate the world. Bryce Young needed a year under Mac Jones. Quinn Ewers is still brand new to college football, despite the fact that he had a year at Ohio State under Stroud last year. These are mistakes he's going to make, and they have to work on them for sure. But it doesn't worry me at all. I think he's the solution. I think Arch Manning's going to redshirt, and I think that's going to be the way things work. And I also will tell you this. I think Quinn Ewers, even if he has an average career, and Matt Stafford had, by and large, an average career at Georgia, okay? He didn't win a national championship. They didn't do as much as expected under Matt Stafford as you would think. I'm looking up his stats right now.
Get ready. Our most popular battery.
What the hell, man? Everything's autoplay. So he completed 57% of his passes, Matt Stafford. His first year he had 7 TDs, 13 picks, then 19 TDs, 10 picks, 25 TDs, 10 picks. Not a great career.
No.
And he is Quinn Ewers. And I still think, I'll tell you this, my prediction,
the same style, yeah.
My prediction for the 2024 draft is that Quinn Ewers will still be the number 1 pick in the draft.
Huh. Well, if he fixes the things he needs to fix, I think that would be the case.
That's what I said about Matt Stafford. You got to understand, the NFL dudes get enamored with your physical skills.
That's true.
Matt Stafford, 6'3", 210. He threw 51 TDs and 33 interceptions and completed 57% of his passes. That's not good. None of that's good.
And he's amazing. He's amazing in the NFL.
Right. But he was a number 1 overall pick in the 2009 draft because his arm is golden. And he can do the things that you don't see guys with a lesser arm able to do. So Ewers will go through this season and next season. He'll go to the combine. He'll have his pro day. Everybody will rave about his pro day. Have you ever heard of a bad pro day, by the way, for a quarterback?
No. But the only thing I hear is better pro days versus pro days. Right.
But I mean, we saw, I remember the Justin Fields.
Johnny Manziel had the greatest pro day. I remember that.
Everybody has the greatest.
Oh, he's so great.
Trey Lance had the greatest pro day until, Mac Jones had a bad pro day. And then he had a second pro day, and his pro day was great. But that whole year was Justin Fields and Trey Lance and Zach Wilson. They all had the greatest pro days ever. And I'm like, well, it's a pro day. All the throws are scripted to receivers. There shouldn't be an incompletion. There's no coverage. So, he'll go and have a great pro day, and his arm will be amazing, and he'll be the number 1 pick in the draft in 2024, even if he doesn't fix these mistakes. Because
that's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, the NFL, man, I'm telling you, they're just enamored.
Totally different games. Like, you can I think the Clemson guy is going to get drafted. I mean, he's 6'5".
Second round at worst.
Someone's still going to take him, right? I mean, he's 6. He could throw 5,000 picks. How many 6'5" guys that could sling it are you going to find? I mean,
second round at worst. He's 6'5", 235 pounds. He's got 17 TDs, 4 picks this year. He got yanked in that Syracuse game. Dabo's going to stick with him as the starter. He'll probably go undefeated this year because their schedule's not that bad at all moving forward. He'll be in the playoff, and he'll be likely a first rounder. But if he slides into the second round, then that's where he'll go.
Right,
and he's got a lot of problems.
Oh, there's a lot because again, look, he's 6'5". He's obviously completely relied on physical dominance. You're talking about high school and stuff. I mean, a 6'5" quarterback who moved in high school pretty well. For college, I don't think he moves that well, but he moved pretty well for high school. And his size, I mean, there's no high school kids that can corral a kid like that. You won't know any flaws on that until he starts to get to college. Plus, the college game is so different. Like these guys who really could scoot running wise, they have a significant bigger impact than the guys who just stand back there and throw. Now, there are guys who stand back there and throw who light it up. I mean, obviously, Mike Leach's teams always do that. That helps them win 9 games every year, right? But for the most part, if the guy's actually able to run and throw pretty well in college, they can have a large level of effectiveness. But only the Lamar Jacksons or the Kyler Murrays of the world can really have any effectiveness in the pros, meaning they're so fast, right? Like you can't be like good speed, make a lot of people miss in college, and then in pros, you're just average speed. When you're Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, they're so much faster than everybody that they're still able to do it for a while. We'll see how long that continues that, but for a while in the pros, whereas everybody else, if you can't drop back and throw and sling it, I mean, you're going to be highly ineffective, Yeah,
and also the system you come from is because you mentioned Mike Leach, and I remember Tim Couch talking about how unprepared he was for the NFL because he was under Mike Leach in Kentucky. And that's a offensive system that's not going to prepare you at all for the NFL. And Mike Leach doesn't produce NFL quarterbacks as a result of it. But Clemson, they got a new offensive coordinator this season. But the system itself, Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence, he'll get a break because of that as well, because it's conducive on a lot of progressions and reads and things like that. It's funny watching that game because Garrett Schrader, who comes from a Mike Leach offense, first look, if it's not there, run. There's no progressions. And it was getting frustrating because I was kind of rooting for Syracuse because they're the underdog. And I'm just like, they couldn't figure out in the first half. And then they went in at halftime, made an adjustment. They're like, this dude locks. And if he doesn't lock, he's running. So get ready. So if he doesn't throw on his first read, he's going to run, get him. And they did. Whereas, the Clemson offense is a little bit more sophisticated. So he'll get that bump too. It's, you got CJ Stroud, you got Bryce Young, you got Will Levis. You got a bunch of quarterbacks this year. So I think he's probably second round, but there'll probably be 5 taken in the first round because last year there was 1 taken in the first 2 rounds. It's crazy. I believe first 2 rounds. Kenny picked it.
Was it Pickett the only one taken?
Yeah, I think I saw that last night. I should remember this, but when the draft's over, I focus on the next year. But yeah, when I was watching the game last night, they said that Pickett was the only quarterback taken in the first 2 rounds, which is unbelievably rare. So that means people are going to overload on quarterbacks next year, and DJ will be a second-round pick at worst. But we should probably wrap it up because it's 1:00.
Yes, sir.
I got other shows to do and stuff like that. So go to myfootballcamps.com/D1. DM us. I'm at M Farrell Sports. Coach is at Coach Schuman on Twitter or on Instagram or on TikTok. We're everywhere. Ask us questions if you have questions about it. We're going to help people. It's just whether they choose to put the investment together. I was talking to you last week? This was just a conversation with you about, your kid, when your kid becomes eligible and if he needs attention, he's too young now, you would absolutely 100% invest this. A, for the happiness of your child, B, for doing it as a parent and trying to give them every opportunity to fulfill their dreams, and C, because it's effective and it can work. So that's, I think if you do it, you're going to be happy with the results. But it just takes a little while to get comfortable with doing it. Because a lot of the people that you've noticed that have come to us have already invested in other programs.
Yes, I noticed that.
And they're a little jaded. Like, oh, I worked with this program and it was awful and a waste of money. And money's difficult now. I mean, inflation's insane.
Yep.
You don't have a ton of money to invest. And so if you've already sunk money into something that's not going to work, you may not have the money to sink it into something else. So, I'm hoping the more we promote it, the more people will look at us first rather than waste their money elsewhere. Yep. Because that's the other thing I think we're trying to overcome here. We're new to the market, and we might have been like your second or third option. And by then, you don't have any money left. So anyhow, it's fun to do for us, and we'll get you some promotion. So myfootballcamps.com/D1. I will talk to you. We got a call tomorrow. Yep. So I'll set it up and then we'll talk tomorrow.
You got it. Great podcast. Great debate. We'll see you soon, and we'll hit the outro here and get going. Have a great day.